this right here is a mess, guys. What's going on with Panboy, Lando, Soy Child, Dong Lover? And it's a shame that I have to say something serious while I'm I have to say that name. All right, so there is a Comicsgate dude, and I'm gonna let you use your imagination who this person might be, who is offering to dox this gentleman, Panboy, for the benefit of somebody who has trouble with him. Now, obviously, once something like that happens, I don't even know what to say. That, whoever did that, they need, their identity needs to be made public, because you can't, you hold people's personal information in trust. And if you would do that to somebody out of some political grievance, then, people need to know that at the very least, people need to know that you're capable of doing that, so that they do not support anything that you do in the future. Okay. And the person who is threatening to do this, from what we understand, is not one of us. It's not someone in here. It's not someone I associate with. And I'll just leave it at that. And I'm sorry, Lando. I hope, I hope this sorts its way out. It's not right at all. It's not Comicsgate. It's dirty.
Hail Caesar, brothers, hail Caesar, hail Caesar, hail Caesar, hail Caesar, hail Sneezer. Can I get a hallelujah, Caesar? Now, brothers, what we've got to talk about today is very important, brothers. There is a very disturbed, a very deranged individual, a man who believes in protecting his family, a man who actually has the audacity to believe in the Second Amendment. And what he's done is he's gone onto a live stream and he's threatened to dox poor, innocent LandoPan of the Bathhouse boys. I mean, of the war campaign. LandoPan? Well, who is that? Any newcomers might be asking. What is this war campaign you speak of? Well, allow me to tell you what they are. They are a group of pathetic men in their 30s and early 40s who go around harassing anyone who chooses to not agree with them, lockstep, anyone who might dissent from their groupthink, anyone who might question them, anyone who might say, well, actually, I'm going to buy books from whoever I want. See, this is about comic books. And who's in charge of the war campaign? Well, it's the leader of Caesar's army. It's a man named Kabir Kumar. And who does he serve? He serves Caesar. He serves mighty Caesar, the almighty Caesar, the all-loving Caesar. Our Uncle Ethan Van Sciver from Comic Artist Pro Secrets. And what is the relationship there? Well, I think Ethan can actually tell us himself what the relationship is.
I use shock troopers called the war campaign.
Don't call them that, Ethan.
I'm sorry, that's what they were called. And I acknowledged. I said, that's what they are. They're shock troopers. As soon as somebody calls me a name on Twitter, I assemble my war campaign to go after them. Go decapitate people.
So there we have our beloved Caesar making light of the shock troopers in his war campaign. And is it all fun and games or is it serious? Well, let's decide. I mean, what could compel a deranged individual like testosterone overload, like Crypto Comics, to actually have to feel the need to defend his family with of all things, a loaded weapon? Ooh. The last thing we need is a Second Amendment gun nut trying to protect his family. And if he indeed does choose to protect his family, when a faceless individual making violent threats for weeks comes onto his private property to commit that violent act, well, thankfully the leader of Caesar's army, the leader of the shock troopers, the leader of the war campaign, Kabir Kumar, knows just how to deal with anyone who tries to stand up to the war campaign.
Think about it, brother. I mean, you literally put up a video with yourself threatening a man with guns, right? I mean, this is where we're at.
I realize you're Canadian, so you're probably pretty cucked already by Trudeau. But in America, we don't fuck around when people threaten to come to your house and commit an act of violence and say, "What are you going to do when I show up on your doorstep, motherfucker?"
Right. Anyhow,
we don't play with that here.
You got to remember the next step now for you is going to be law enforcement. That's going to be the next step. So the best thing for you to do is to stay at your house, close the door, put on some peaceful music, and forget about the war campaign.
Well, we can all count our blessings tonight, because Kabir Kumar, the faithful leader of Ethan Van Sciver's shock troopers, is here to protect us from any deranged Second Amendment gun nut trying to protect his family. All it takes is a call to law enforcement to have this deranged individual swatted for trying to protect his family from faceless weirdos. You can rest easy, my brainwashed centurion. I mean my loyal centurions. But what of these claims that LandoPan, the cherub-like LandoPan, threatened to come to this deranged individual's house and commit an act of violence? Could there be any truth to those rumors, or are they just the delusions of a deranged individual? Well, surprisingly enough, I happen to have a few receipts. Now, granted, I don't have all the receipts, because as a deranged individual, I didn't know I was supposed to keep receipts of every single interaction I ever had with another person in Comicsgate, like all you normal people do. But I do have a few, and I'll begin sharing them right now. Okay, so in all seriousness, how did it all start? I was a viewer of the war campaign back before they went crazy on John De La Rose and then everyone else who dared to disagree with them. And on one of the streams, LandoPan mentioned that he lived in Portland or near Portland. You know, like if you're from here, you say you're from Portland, even though you might live an hour away, because it's just easier, because the only things people know in the Northwest are Portland and Seattle, right? And I was just like, I was shocked, because it's like, here's a dude near Portland who, I assume is a conservative because he's in Comicsgate, and he's in Comicsgate. And so, like, finding that in Portland, that's like finding a needle in a haystack, right? And I was like, dude, we need to kick it. We need to meet up. And I wish I would have screenshotted everything, but I'm just a normal person, and normal people don't screen grab every interaction they have with every person, especially not when you're in Comicsgate and you're like supposed to be talking to people that you're, friendly with. That's just not what normal people do, as I'm sure all of the normal people watching this right now know. And so unfortunately, I don't have like every single thing. I bet he has it. It wouldn't surprise me if LandoPan has screenshotted every single conversation we have had in DMs. I don't have them. I wish I did, because I'd show them all. So I do some business out in the region of Oregon where this guy claims to live. And I was like, we should meet up, dude. Like, I'm out there all the time in that area, like, and we should meet up and kick it, because that's what people do, right? Like, normal people do. And I mentioned to him, you can see it right here. I was thinking of going to a place on a certain street in Portland Saturday night. You going to be around? And he says, yeah, bring your homie De La Rose. Let's have some fun. Which confused the shit out of me, because, like, John De La Rose isn't my homie. We've never met in real life. Like, we had known each other through Comicsgate since, I don't know, the springtime, maybe, of 2018. And so I just respond like, I think he lives in San Jose. And I ask him, you ever been to blank? And he says, Portland is lame, bro. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. But the place I go to in Portland, which is the only place left I go in Portland, is freaking awesome. It's a speakeasy. It's a freaking bar in a dude's basement. Like, my homeboy has 8 taps in his basement, and he opens it to the public. And he doesn't charge. You don't pay for the beer. All you got to do is be ballsy enough to walk into a guy's backyard, open his door, go in his house, go in his basement, and you will discover a bar, a literal bar in a basement where you can serve yourself homebrew. And that is just the ultimate in Portland. And it's the only great thing in Portland, to be honest with you. So anyways, this is, September 21st, 2018. And I wish I know what I would have said here. I probably said something like, we're just having a conversation like normal people do. And out of nowhere, he flips it to like, oh, no, let me think. I know what I said. I was like, dude, you should probably something along the lines of, I'm sure he has the tweet and can share it. I probably said something along the lines of, dude, you should stop like going at this guy, John De La Rose, so hard, because you're taking food out of his family's mouth by calling him a fucking Nazi and stuff, which is wholly inappropriate. I don't care who you are. If you're an adult, you know that's not correct, unless you're talking about real Nazis. And like, there's what, 0.303% of the population is in the Ku Klux Klan, and in the Aryan nations or whatever. So anyway, I tell this freaking scumbag LandoPan that, like, if you start messing with a person's family, you start taking food out of his children's mouths, he's going to start to really mess with you back, dude, because he's not going to appreciate that. You're affecting his business in the real world by calling him a freaking Nazi and stuff. And he takes that as a threat to him. Like, are you fucking threatening me, boy? Let me know when and where. What do you think about that, Ethan?
That's not right at all. It's not Comicsgate.
And so, like, as you can see, this is what I say. Are you daft? Seriously? Your comprehension skills are screwed. You think the guy who has been trying to get everyone to be friends is now threatening you. Yeah, that's what I'm doing here. I'm gonna do stuff if you don't get along with people. Give me a few days. I'll figure out what I'm gonna do to teach you a big lesson, son. We're gonna raise you up right. Jeez Louise, Pan, not everyone is out to get you. Some of us are more interested in seeing this thing succeed than get burned down over some bullshit power play built on lies. I wish I had the rest of this one too, you know? This is what sucks when you don't realize how crazy people are on Twitter. So here we go from 925, and I'm sure, like, this calmed him down, right? And he's just like, oh, this guy's just a normal human. And if he has him, he's more than welcome to release him. I wish I did, because I'm freaking obviously happy to release him. So then we jump forward, and at some point in this part, I remember talking to him about, like, the history of the alt-right, and back in 2015, the alt-right, before Donald Trump essentially ran for president, the alt-right was Breitbart News and Milo Yiannopoulos, and it was like the alternative to the mainstream globalist elite Republican Party that you see represented by now former Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. And that alt-right was, you know, the purity. That was the pure alt-right. Like, and I don't mean white purity either. I'm talking about, you know, people that actually gave a crap about America and weren't there to just stuff their pockets full. People that wanted to limit government to the point where it could be held accountable for its actions, not like what we have now. Responsibility in government. And you don't see that in either party amongst the globalists. And that's, you know, 100% of the Democratic Party, and, you know, I don't know, maybe 50-50 in the Republican Party. If you pay attention to politics, you know Republicans have a lot of different ideas and are always butting heads with each other. Democrats are lockstep with one another. They're a lot like the war campaign, where, you know, you never have any dissension in the ranks. You never see a Democrat go after another Democrat. It does not happen. So after Donald Trump got, you know, the nomination, the mainstream media started attaching the alt-right, which would have been represented by the limited government, you know, the Breitbart News, the Milo Yiannopoulos. They started attaching the label alt-right to this freaking whack job Richard Spencer white nationalist piece of shit, right? And, you know, Richard Spencer takes the ball and runs because that's, you know, free publicity for him. He doesn't care. He's proud to be, you know, a white nationalist, white separatist, whatever the guy is. So he takes the ball and runs. And in my conversations with John De La Rose, and if you listen to John De La Rose on streams, like, he's not a white nationalist. He's frickin' Hispanic. And it would make no sense for him to be a white nationalist. And furthermore, just like Ethan agreed on the stream with him last week, people who believe in that stuff don't deny it. They're proud of it. Like, they take torches and chant weird shit at rallies about Jews not replacing them because they're proud to be racist pieces of shit. So anyways, like, this guy is going on just trying to convince me to hate this John De La Rose, hate this John De La Rose. And it's like, John De La Rose hasn't done anything wrong here yet. I get that John De La Rose did not want to go out and publicly disparage someone he does a piece of business with, a guy named Vox Day. That's good business. You don't go run your mouth about someone you have business with. Just like you don't see Chuck Dixon running his mouth about Vox Day. Why would he? Vox Day gives him money to feed his family. And why is it that the war campaign hasn't gone after Chuck Dixon? Well, it's because Ethan wants to work with Chuck Dixon in the future because Chuck Dixon is an incredibly talented writer. And John De La Rose doesn't have the presence and the name that Chuck Dixon has. So we can just, you know, toss John De La Rose to the side, but we better not go after Chuck Dixon. But if we're going after all these supposed white nationalists who work with Vox Day, well, why does Chuck Dixon get a pass? Well, that's why. So LandoPan, he's alt-right, bro. It's dumb to argue otherwise. And I'm finally just so tired of this. I'm like, maybe I just don't give a shit and have much bigger fish to fry. Yeah, that's what I thought. Don't give a shit about truth. You do you, ha ha ha. Go get your big fish. And so I'm just like, why should I invest my time and emotions into that battle? What do I gain from that investment? Yet you keep running your mouth like a bitch. Prove me wrong. Shut the fuck up. Oh, what a tough guy, right? Here's the tough guy. Very upset. And so I say, you seem so interested in John's political affiliation. I just thought you'd want to know he disavowed white nationalism. No reason to act like a tough guy behind your mask. Bro, you want to meet up? Let's make it happen. Okay, like, at what point in here have I, said something that has made you so angry you have to act like what he acts like is a bully that I had in middle school. That's what he reminds me of, is a bully I had in middle school who thought that he was going to bully me once we got into high school. And he very quickly learned otherwise when I gave him a nice big fat punch in the lips. And then I never had a problem again, because that's what you do with bullies. You bloody their lip. And so here it is, just I want to fight. I want to fight. Well, what do you think about this, Ethan?
It's dirty.
You talk all this mass shit, but I've never seen your name or face. And so I, being me, just say, man, I would love to meet up. I would give you a big hug because I still like all you fuckers, despite your transgressions. My name's Matt. What's yours? See, I'm trying to be a normal dude, and my name is Matt, and he knows that, and he's going to use that against me in the future. Keep in mind, we're still back here in October. You don't like us. You wouldn't hug me. Quit lying. Just like, man, you really are suspicious of people. And I, of course, just being who I am, nah, I'm a hugger. I can be disappointed in people and not hate them. That's what forgiveness is all about, bro. I will admit that I am not a big fan of Gat Hanzo. I think that's his name. Back then, I wasn't sure. Now I definitely know his name. But you and Tyler I especially enjoy. I like Jean-Luc quite a bit, too. That opinion has changed greatly. If I could whittle the campaign down to you three, Ro, and Colonel Comics, I think it would be more enjoyable. Too many voices can sometimes be overwhelming. I do like that Gat is a Southerner. I think that's an important part of our nation that is often overlooked by people from the West Coast and the Northeast. But Gat screams too much for my taste. And if you listen to that John Delarose when he was on there and they set him up, dude, that guy was just screaming, dude, just screaming. Could not have a conversation, and I don't like that in people. And, so this guy's like goading me all over the place, right, on the Twitter, because that's what these people do, as everybody knows. And so he's, was apparently talking shit to me, and I said, there's only one jerk off in here, little boy. So he called me a jerk off, and I just respond to him, right? And here we go again. Let's settle this. Time and place. Well, what are we settling? If you're a jerk off or if John is a Hispanic white nationalist? I really just want to test out your pro wrestling skills on pavement. Oh, see, you're so aggressive, so violent, so angry. So I'm just curious, Edwin Boyette, do you have an opinion on the violence that this grown man regularly displays over comic books?
Don't let it spill off the internet. Like there is no reason anybody should ever feel threatened in real life because of a discussion about comic books. And if you find yourself getting to that position, do everything you can to de-escalate.
And I just dismiss it, A false count anywhere match, that's not good booking. You have to start with a regular old singles match and build up to a specialty bout. Because I'm fine with dismissing people who behave in this manner, especially when they're like around 40 years old, which this guy is. You can tell by his voice because he's got that Marlboro Man voice from smoking, a pack of Reds a day. And so, somebody obviously asked me a question, and, I don't, like I said, I don't have all the receipts because I'm a deranged person, and deranged person, we don't keep all the conversations we have with everyone like normal people do. We can see that I apparently said something here that he's, again, screen grab because he's obsessed with this. With John Live, so the War Campaign did a stream with John Live, and I witnessed a few pussies try to damage his career the next day. We call that gutless where I'm from. The same kind of weak suck pukes that, we see on the left, I'm guessing maybe is what I said. I don't know. I'm sure Pan still has all this archived in his cell phone. In person, let's meet up. Time and place. And I just dismissed it again. Why? I already tried to meet up with you. You didn't want to come to Portland. When and where? Name it. Well, I'm probably going to a movie in Portland on Saturday, but it blah, 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 something there. This is the rest of that tweet. I'll be in the mood to do anything afterward. Maybe next weekend. What do you want to do? I'm not a big drinker. I want you to call me a pussy to my face. Oh. So you still want to play the tough guy when people won't submit to your will. How big and strong of you. I am going to hold you accountable. There we go again. Still threats.
That's not right at all. It's not Comicsgate.
But you couldn't even hold your own cult leader accountable when he secretly aligned with Renfamous. In fact, rumor is that the Boer campaign is still chatty with SJWs in secret and might even be responsible for Tug getting doxxed. So, for those of you who want to, check the time code, you know when this was. You're blaming Roe for Tug doxxed? I'm not blaming anyone. I haven't seen any proof. You guys have a track record of creating drama, so I could believe it with some evidence. Well, it turned out it wasn't them, and that's okay, but that was the rumor at that time. But I don't give in to rumors. I'm not blaming anyone. I haven't seen any proof. And we're just going to keep going. Create drama? No, that just happens when opposing extremist drama queens like you, Ren, and JDA. Okay. Yeah, I'm so extreme for not demanding another person end their business relationship because I said so. We're going to have to change your Twitter handle to SimplePan. And, he can't take the ribs. He can't take a joke. He can't take a rib. He can't take anybody saying anything that he didn't allow them to say, because this guy is a control freak, because all these guys in the war campaign are probably sociopaths. And if you look up sociopaths and the traits of sociopaths, you'll start to see that what I'm saying very well could be true. I'm not guaranteeing it. I haven't met him in person. I'm not a psychologist, so I can't guarantee it. But I'm saying there are some traits being exhibited here that lead you to think that they might be sociopaths who've gotten together online. They probably couldn't coexist in the real world. But on here, they seem to be able to just fine. And then he says, keep talking, idiot. You'll have your chance to back up everything you say. So there we go again. There's another threat of violence. Over and over and over. And I mean, this went on for weeks. And I dismiss it, but I'm not going to silence my opinion on subjects. I don't have to do that. This isn't communist Russia. I can say whatever I want. I'm an American. I believe in all my rights. And then there was an incident, and I do not have the screen grabs for this, but this guy literally followed me everywhere on Twitter from 11 a.m. on a Saturday until 4 in the morning on a Sunday. If I interacted with somebody, I'll tell you even who I interacted with. I interacted with Josh the Amazing Animator, and all of a sudden this guy comes in there and starts making these vague threats, and I just straight said, uh-oh, Josh, looks like you're going to be next. And then he quickly backs out. Oh, no, you can believe whatever you want, Josh. And then I start talking to Donald DeLay, and the guy does the same thing to him. And Donald, looks like you're going to be next on the war campaign shopping blog. Nah, man, Donald's cool, man. He's been on the campaign before, blah, 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 blah. And then I start getting these vague tweets. Get ready. And I'm just like, oh, look at the little chihuahua still barking, the little lapdog Lando. And then it starts to get weird. I say, a dog on a leash is nothing to fear. A little boy terrified to show his face and stand behind his own words is a pathetic creature indeed. Hide in the shadows and bark your buzzwords, you frail chihuahua. Because it's all, right-wing SJW, as if that's even a thing. And out of nowhere, here comes Section 8, Praetorian 8, to say, my hometown, Vancouver, Washington. Okay, well, Poe knew that from DMs, and so he tells it to him, and he posts it online, November 2nd. Is this the way Comicsgate is supposed to behave?
That's not right at all. It's not Comicsgate. It's dirty.
Well, surely you must agree with this too, Tug. I mean, what do you think about this guy actually going out there and publicly stating where I live, which was given to him by his little buddy, LandoPan?
You can argue vehemently, but come on, like targeting people's actual lives.
And it's just like, okay, that's kind of weird, but I still brush it off. And then he says, Praetorian 8 says, and there is this one radio station around that area that is pretty badass too. Now, I did a piece of business with a radio station for about 1.5 years here in the Portland area. And so that's very weird. And that actually perked my ears up, because that's That's not something I've ever put out there for public consumption to anyone in Comicsgate. And I don't know if that was a coincidence or if somehow, somewhere online, there is some small minor mention. And how he would get it, I don't even know. But that definitely got my attention finally, in a very real way. And then this is the next thing he says. What are you going to say when I'm on your doorstep? What are you going to say when I'm on your doorstep? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to say when a stranger, a faceless stranger who's been making violent threats to me in DMs for weeks, says that he's coming to my house. I'm going to put a gun in their face and I'm going to unload the clip, because that's what you have to do with weirdos. And I'll tell you why you have to do that with weirdos. Now I'm going to talk about something that I don't like to talk about because it's painful and it hurts and it's nobody's fucking business. It's nobody's business. And I didn't sign up for Comicsgate to have to talk about bad experiences from the past. And I'm not going to dwell on it, and I'm not going to go into details. But I'm going to tell you straight up, in my life, I know murder has happened. Okay? I know for a fact that a human being will drive to the home of a man they've never met and will murder them over stupid shit. Because I know of a man who drove to a person's house he never met and murdered him over a woman. I'm talking about a guy who went jealous with rage and decided to murder someone he'd never even met. So I guarantee you, in the real fucking world, when people threaten to come to my house, you better believe I know that shit's true. I know that can happen. And who knows what that person's capable of. Because I know for a fact from real world experience that a man will drive 3 hours from his home to stab another person to death who he doesn't even know over some shit that doesn't even matter. So when these creeps, these weirdos, threaten to do that after weeks of demanding violence because I won't conform, well, I'm going to take it serious. And I guarantee you, anybody that says they're coming to my house threatening me with violence where little children sleep, they will force me to make them leave in an ambulance or a body bag. And I'll bet dollars to donuts that anyone listening to this understands that, unless they are a brainwashed fool or an SJW who hates the Second Amendment and wants to take guns away. Which it seems like there's quite a few people in this little war campaign who are secret SJWs wanting to take guns away from people so that they can threaten them more. But guess what? Guess what happened then? He makes it into a big joke and keeps goading and keeps wanting to harass me and harangue me everywhere I go on the internet. And I could block the guy, but you know what? I don't like to block weirdos like that because who knows what the creep is going to be saying that I can't see after he's already threatened to come to my home. And he's already put, the town where I live out there for everyone to see. That's very weird. Him and Praetorian are both very weird fuckers. So now I have to ask myself, well, what do I do with such a weird fucker? Do I call the police on this guy? Is that what I'm supposed to do? You know, you'd think that the guy would back down, but apparently he's got a few screws loose. So finally, I'm just like, you want to fight, dude? We can fight, bro. Here's a Walmart buy where I'll be working this week. Whatever it takes to get you to shut the fuck up, dude. So he gets his chance to finally man up, nut up or shut up. And what does he do? Him and the Bathhouse boys mass report my tweet. And they get me kicked off Twitter like gutless cowards. And that's fine because Twitter's a toxic cesspool. And I don't hold on to a social media account too tightly. It's not my world. It's not part of my psyche like it is for these little boys. But then you just keep hearing from other people, who they've moved on to next, who's going to be the next target. And every week they have a new target. And anybody who's been in Comicsgate for the last 6 months has clearly seen that. And I realize there's a few newcomers who don't get it yet. But you will get it because eventually you'll be targeted like so many other people have. And so I'm fed up with it. And I'll tell you straight up, this is how it went. And here's the receipts to prove it. So now what do I do at this point? Now I've had this weird Canadian fucker, Kabir Kumar, threaten to swat me.
You got to remember the next step now for you is going to be law enforcement. That's going to be the next step. So the best thing for you to do is to stay at your house, close the door, put on some peaceful music, and forget about the war campaign.
Because I'm going to go ahead and talk about how crazy these people are online, and I'm going to offer my channel to anyone else who wants to talk about their experiences with the war campaign. I don't care who it is. You are welcome to come on here. You are safe here. They will show up in the chat, but don't worry, they're gutless. They're not really going to do anything. They're just going to harass you, and they're going to keep harassing you until it's just them and Uncle Ethan playing ukuleles in the sand. So now the question comes down to, what do I do about these weirdos? And furthermore, did Ethan tell them to do this? I mean, they are his shock troopers.
I use shock troopers.
He does give them directions, as he said. Get rid of John De La Rose. Get rid of Tim Lim. Get rid of Nurkish. Get rid of Sashi. Put Nerd Wonder in her place. Put Nerdette in her place. I mean, how many of these is Ethan responsible for? Because we can keep naming people. And there's a lot of people who just quietly disappeared that you probably forgot all about. But if you think about it, you'll remember them. You'll remember them. And they're still out there. Still wishing that what was supposed to be an entertainment revolution was still around. But all these war campaign losers want is to sit in their bathhouse scrubbing Uncle Ethan's back for eternity. It's a weird, bizarre, homoerotic sort of a relationship that I don't understand. But apparently they're all very, very happy with it. But I don't think that the bigger names in Comicsgate are going to be happy when it's just 50 guys in a war campaign who are buying their books because they've turned off everyone else. And to be quite honest, I talked to dozens of people who've reached out to me who are in Comicsgate or, want to be in Comicsgate but aren't anymore because of these weirdos. And all of them say the same thing. Yeah, I'm not supporting the big guys anymore. I'm not going to support them. Yeah, no, they consent to the war campaign. They let it happen.
Once these people kind of reveal who they are, you have to believe them.
And so, that's it. I think Comicsgate is a 747 in its death roll. And it's spiraling directly toward the ground. And the war campaign and Ethan Van Sciver are at the controls. And that makes me sad because I really like Ethan, and I don't know what to do. Should I take Ethan's advice? Believe it or not, we actually know what Ethan would do because he's told us. When ultra creepy late night comics threatened to assault Billy Tucci if he ever saw him in public, Billy took it very seriously and said, "The FBI visited my home, warning that death threats had been made towards my wife and I on Twitter. Thank you for your diligence and concern." Ethan retweeted him and said, same dude threatened me. Anti-Comicsgate has lost its mind. And now the FBI is involved for the protection of Billy and his family, and me and my family. This is all over comic books. Now, is that what I should do? Should I contact the Federal Bureau of Investigation? Or should I contact, Oregon State Patrol and report this guy? Should I contact New Jersey State Patrol? Ethan, after all, tells these guys what to do. I mean, I don't want to believe it, but like Ethan said,
once these people kind of reveal who they are, you have to believe them.
So what would you do out there? I mean, what would Ethan do? Ethan, do you want to tell us what you would do?
I remove bad actors from my circle, from my inner circle, people who obviously did not wish me well.
Well, the logical follow-up question to that is, what do Kabir Kumar and the war campaign wish for you? Do they wish you well? Because I don't see Comicsgate growing. I see it shrinking like a set of testicles when a man jumps into a frozen river. I see people talking about #ConsumerGate, about how they're going to build a gate around their wallet, and none of the big names who associate with the war campaign are going to ever get into that wallet again. And that tells me Comicsgate is in big trouble, baby. Big trouble. And now, but to stay on topic here, what does the war campaign wish for you? And the real question is, did you tell Kabir Kumar to swat me? Because you have said that they are your centurions. They are your shock troopers. They are your war campaign. They do your bidding. So, was it your bidding when Kabir Kumar threatened me? And what do you think of it, Ethan?
You got to remember the next step now for you is going to be law enforcement. That's going to be the next step. So the best thing for you to do is to stay at your house, close the door, put on some peaceful music, and forget about the war campaign.
That's not right at all. It's not Comicsgate. It's dirty.
Now, I will give you an opportunity to respond to this if you choose to take that invitation, Ethan. I will host another stream after this one, and you can come in and you can explain to me what you think. But what I want to do right now is spend the next few minutes addressing the doxing. The war campaign has been up in arms all over Twitter, sniffing around, trying to figure out who is it? Who's going to help Testosterone Overload? Who's going to help Crypto Comics dox the sweet, lovable, degenerate Pan, even though Pan and Praetorian worked in tangent to, threaten me, put my hometown out there, etc., 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 2 friggin' months ago. Where was Ethan? Where was Tug? Where was Edwin? Where were any of them to say?
That's not right at all. It's not Comicsgate. It's dirty.
There is no reason anybody should ever feel threatened in real life because of a discussion about comic books.
You can argue vehemently, but come on, like targeting people's actual lives.
Now, I will say to Edwin's credit that after LandoPan foolishly posted information about the area he lived in Oregon on his public Twitter feed, and then spent months harassing people, I dug up that information, and I used it against him the next time he tried to mess with me in a chat. And instantly, he tucked his tail, disappeared from the chat, and ran as quick as he could to Edwin to settle the problems, because all of a sudden, he knew he was in big trouble. And me, being a class act, was absolutely fine with squashing the beef. And we did for a while. We certainly did for a while. But it gets old. It gets very, very tiring listening to all the good people in Comicsgate talk about the daily harassment of the war campaign, to hear women talk about how they are legitimately scared of these pathetic men who hide behind their screen names. So it was time for someone to stand up to these chumps, these little faceless cowards, cowering behind their keyboards. At least Kabir has the balls to show his face. And since I was the first person to ever stand up to the war campaign months ago when they attacked John De La Rose for no good reason, and I know they don't like me, and I know that they are very scared of me because I am the first person to do that, I am unafraid of them. I conducted a poll that made them look like complete assholes months ago on Twitter and showed that no one wants them in Comicsgate. And what's even funnier about this poll, think about this. Each of these assholes has 3 or 4 sock puppet accounts they voted with too. And they still couldn't make it a 50-50 split because that's how hated they are. And their whole goal is to dominate this thing, to do apparently Ethan Van Sciver's bidding, which I just can't believe that this dude, who I have followed off and on for 25 years, is this big of a shitbag. I find it really hard to believe, Ethan. And maybe you can justify all this, but I think it's completely unjustifiable, indefensible. And if you're smart, what you'll probably do is say, this has gone on too long. This is clearly evidence that these guys are frickin' nut jobs, whack jobs, and you don't want to be implicated in this kind of madness because you're not this big of an asshole. You might be an asshole, but I don't know. Are you this big of an asshole that you would endorse swatting, that you would endorse doxing, that you would endorse the harassment of girls? I mean, how pathetic is that for a man to do? Man. And I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt for now. But I digress. To get back to the doxing situation, I invite John De La Rose on my stream to talk about his issues with the war campaign. And he does, and the war campaign of course, shows up in the chat to try to intimidate and scare people. And, maybe they did intimidate John. Or maybe John just didn't want to deal with it. Maybe, he knew that there was no way to resolve the situation. Does John De La Rose talk a lot of shit online? Yeah, he sure does. And this was an opportunity for him to confront Ethan face to face, and he chose not to do that. And that's his choice, and it didn't make him look very good. But I've also heard from people that Ethan didn't look very good in the hour we spent talking to each other. I had a good time, though. I had a good time talking with Ethan. I would talk with Ethan again, provided he's not a shitbag who endorsed and secretly worked to harass everyone, big or small, in Comicsgate, because that's dirty, right, Ethan?
It's dirty.
Yeah, you're right, Ethan. That is dirty. That's very dirty. So the next day, I wake up, and, of course, the live stream with John De La Rose and Ethan Van Sciver, where Ro Kabir at the end threatened to swap me, is filled with comments. The comments are pouring in. And there's one comment in particular. That's my name. This person wrote my name. Look at that. There it is again. My hometown, Vancouver, Washington. There it is again. Now, who is this person? Well, they say they're not Comicsgate, but oh, look. I'm a po-ho. So, now here we have, for the second time, these guys putting my information out there. They're claiming this is a girl, but there's only 2 girls that hang out with the war campaign. And I don't like my women to be that subservient. I don't need women to, repeat everything I say like they're my slave and I'm their master. I prefer women to be free thinkers and to express their own opinions. I find that attractive. And that's what I like about all the girls who have been pushed out of Comicsgate by the war campaign. And I respect that they stood up for themselves immensely. And I know that it was hard for them to do that. Some of them, it was hard for them to do that, but they did it. And they are all Joan of Arcs in my book. So, I see this doxing. Now, is that acceptable, Ethan?
This right here is a mess, guys.
Yeah, we don't do that. That's not Comicsgate, right?
That's not right at all. It's not Comicsgate.
Yeah, you're right. That's not Comicsgate. But well, it turns out that maybe it is Comicsgate. I mean, look at this. So here we have Ethan Van Sciver, our beloved Uncle Ethan, Caesar to the masses, saying that one of his enemies, perhaps Comicsgate's biggest enemy, Renfamous, it is certainly okay to dox Renfamous. He talks about how she lives in Texas. He says her real name. He discusses her job. He discusses how to hurt her financially. So, it turns out that doxing is absolutely acceptable in Comicsgate if it's being done to one of your enemies and it's being done by someone with a powerful voice.
That's not right at all. It's not Comicsgate. It's dirty.
Now, don't take this as an endorsement for Renfamous. I reject her completely. She lives a less than honorable public life and behaves in very despicable ways. But within Comicsgate, we have people who behave exactly the same way, just on the opposite end of the spectrum. They have Renfamous, we have Rofamous. And Rofamous has done an immense amount of damage to the Comicsgate name. You can pretend that this isn't a community. That's fine with me. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is, no one who is a decent person wants to be attached to Comicsgate if it's going to behave in such a destructive manner. I say to Ro the same thing I say to Ren. You are not here to talk about comic books, so you have no business being here. You are here to stroke your own ego and to try to profit off others' misery. But back to my doxing of LandoPan. After I do this stream with JDA, EVS, and the power-hungry Ro Kabir Kumar, after my name is mentioned multiple times and my hometown mentioned in the comments and months before by LandoPan in Section 8, Praetorian 08, I go on a little tiny stream. I mean tiny. No one even knows about this stream. God bless you guys. God bless you guys. But this is such a small, insignificant stream in the scheme of things, according to the big guys and according to the war campaign. But the war campaign, they can't allow any dissent. There cannot be anyone who has a difference of opinion with them. What they are told, the opinion must be today. It's very Orwellian, isn't it? So I go on this stream, and I talk about how, I 100% think that we should dox people. I think if you're a total shitbag, you should have your information put out there. That way other people know who the shitbag is, especially a weirdo like LandoPan who threatens to come to a person's home. And then later I say that I didn't even know we were live. I didn't know. I didn't know. So now let me ask you this, war campaign. Do you really think that a guy who has worked on literally hundreds of television productions, a guy who has been uploading to YouTube for 10 years, who has uploaded 3,600 videos, doesn't know he's on a live stream? I realize you all share a brain, and that brain belongs to the mentally deficient Kabir Kumar. But I really can't believe you actually fell for it, that you actually believed it. I can't believe you spent the last week sniffing around. Who's it going to be? Who's going to help testosterone overload? Crypto comics. Docs, the sweet, lovable, degenerate Pan. Is it going to be, will it be Nasser? Oh my gosh, will it be Slick Jimmy? Could it be Tim Lim? Could it be JDA? What about Sashi? What does she know? What about the people that we don't even know about, like Brett R. Smith? Oh my God, what if it's your boy Zach and he's just fed up with all this drama? Well, it's not going to be any of them. Because you guys are suckers. And you're too stupid to even have realized it. See, there's an expression in the wrestling business. You can't work a worker. And none of you are workers. So you got worked. But I appreciate you talking about how terrible doxing is, how horrible it is, when you've been doing it for months. And I appreciate you talking about how insane I am for defending my family when you acted like fucking weirdos. And I really appreciate Kabir Kumar threatening to swap me so that everyone in Comicsgate and anyone who thinks about joining Comicsgate realizes the mess we are in. And here's the thing, boys. If you hadn't spent months harassing creators, if you hadn't spent months trying to intimidate fans, you wouldn't have had anything to worry about all week. Because you would have said, well, why would anyone want to damage us? We're nice guys. We do a lot to benefit the community. And I'd be the shitbag. But, well, it turns out it's you. You're the shitbags. So you freaked out all week, sniffing around. Who's it going to be? Who do we got to stop? You got to stop yourselves. And Ro, I know you're sitting in your mama's spare room right now. Pan, I know you're sitting in your mama's basement, puffing that cigarette right now. You're sweating, you're fuming, you're shaking, you're thinking, how are we going to get him? How are we going to get that testosterone overload? But there's one thing you boys forgot about. That I'm your pimp, and you're my bitch. So instead of trying to figure out how you're going to get me, trying to figure out how you're going to get other members of Comicsgate, what you need to do is figure out how to get a job. So now let me tell you what I appreciate most of all. Out of all of it, what do I appreciate most of all? I appreciate you suckers in the war campaign for sharing my channel and informing all of the good people of Comicsgate where I am, so that if they have a grievance with you, they have a platform they can come to and feel safe on. And you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about a certain member of the Centurions, a certain member of the war campaign, who tried to mock this little tiny crypto comics channel in the chat. Because see, when JDA and I started that stream, I only had 56 subscribers. And by the time you guys were done, I had more than doubled that. And guess what? Guess what, buddy? To my buddy Steve in the war campaign, remember when you were saying in the chat last week, oh, this guy, he's only got 56 subs. He's not going to get any views. Well, guess what? JDA, EVS, and Ro Kabir, now it's up to 1,200 views, brother. And I noticed when I look at the War Campaign page, you have 1,200 subscribers, but you seem to have a lot of trouble getting over 1,000 views on anything the last couple months. Because most people are just watching you for the cringe factor, because it's pathetic to see a bunch of men in their 30s and 40s behaving the way you guys do. But I got nothing against you, Steve Dye. I got nothing against anybody who's a Centurion. I understand. You didn't know, but now you do know. And so you got to make a choice. I'm not telling you, oh, it's this or that, but in your own mind, you're now going to make a choice. Do you want to be with degenerate scumbags who threaten to come to people's homes where children are sleeping? Or do you just want to be a comic book fan? I mean, if you listen to every single War Campaign stream, have you ever heard them talk about comics? Or do they just sit there and suck the cum out of Ethan's prick? Because that's sure what it sounds like to everybody else in Comicsgate. And you don't have to be that anymore. The only people who are responsible are Kabir Kumar and LandoPan and Praetorian and maybe Ethan. But I am going to do another stream after this. So Ethan, you can come on and explain your thoughts and tell everybody what you think. But what I assume you're going to say is this.
This right here is a mess, guys. It's not right at all. It's not Comicsgate. It's dirty. I mean, once these people kind of reveal who they are, you have to believe them. I remove bad actors from my circle, from my inner circle, people who obviously did not wish me well.
But we'll see. We'll see if that is what you say. And I'll tell you right now that if this BS with the War Campaign does not cease and desist immediately, then we're going to start to talk to other people who have been attacked by the War Campaign, and we're going to start to point out other people within their ranks who are a problem. And I am talking about you, Sketch Therapy. I am talking about you, Jean-Luc. I am talking about you, No Go to Mogo. And I am talking about you, Edwin, the Ace-Hole Acevedo. But you don't have to have that. See, you don't have to force people into liking Comicsgate. All you have to do is get out of their friggin' way and let them buy. Because everybody I know, and a ton more I don't even know, they're all joining Consumergate. And there's a big, beautiful wall that they've built around their wallet. And they're not going to open it for anyone who associates with you. And guess what? They don't like it. They don't like that at all. They want to buy comics from Comicsgate creators. But if you guys are defining what Comicsgate is, they're better off with the fucking SJWs. Because you are no different than them. So I'm going to take a break for a couple minutes. I got to hit the head and get a glass of water. As soon as this stream ends, I will start a new one immediately so that anyone who wants to can wait there. And after I return here in just a few minutes, I will give Ethan the opportunity to come on here because I don't know what he really knew. You know, he's a very busy man. And yes, he's probably made some transgressions. But you know, it's never too late to apologize. Even if the people don't accept your apology, who you've offended. At least you apologized. And I think a lot of people, normal people, they respect that. Not like the War Campaign, you know, because you never apologize to SJWs. I mean, the War Campaign. I mean, what's the difference, right? So I'll be back in a couple minutes, and I will invite Ethan on here, and we will find out if he knows as much as a lot of Comicsgaters think he knows about this serial harassment that occurs every day, day in and day out, 16 hours a day on Twitter from the War Campaign. I appreciate all of you who have tuned in for the truth.